Morning, everyone. I do apologise for yesterday, but as a man of a certain age, I still have to work to make a living, and I had to go to work. These things happen. Anyway, let's have a look and see who's in this morning. Hi, June. Hi, Kirsty Hamilton. What we got? Scott Hayes, David McDonald, Desiree Brincat, Wake Up and Smell the Roses, Peter M, Christina Mackey, George Docherty, and thanks for that list, Reagan Elite. Right then. Hi, Lorna. Hi, Scott. Mr. McDonald. Ackies. Linda. George Docherty. Graham Eason. Heather, that's you made your move. Well, I hope wherever it is you've moved to, whether it be the front room to the back room, or from one house to another, I hope it works out for you. Right, let's get into this, folks. Numbers are climbing nicely. Cindy Truck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is 4 degrees currently, overcast. Dry at the moment. Today's high will be 5 degrees. There is rain in the forecast. Humidity is at 87%. Wind speed, quite bracing actually, 22 to 38 miles an hour. Quite cold in the wind, making it feel like -7 apparently. Sunset will be at 16:59. And there is no pollen count. So that's exactly how the weather is here in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire at this point in time. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look out your own bloody window. Right, first up this morning, we've got the Scotsman. So let's get it up. Now, there is a theme running through the papers, and that's going to do with the pressure that Sir Kid Starver finds himself under. So, Sarwar, PM, was wrong to ever consider Mandelson. Now, what's interesting about Sarwar is he claimed that he was a close friend of Peter Mandelson. And now he's trying to put distance between himself and Mandelson. But we'll see that in a picture a wee bit further into the headlines. Keep an eye on the pictures on the front pages, because in one of them, you will see Sarwar shaking hands with Mandelson outside what looks like a grand a doorway, whether it be the terrace in the House of Commons or whether it be Mandelson's home, I don't know. But you'll see the picture later on. So PM was wrong to ever consider Mandelson, according to Sarwar. I heard that knob. One minute he's a friend, next minute he's no. Next up we'll get the National. The National's got multiple headlines, all of them interesting this morning. FM accuses Sarwar of political interference in a hospital inquiry, and it was done very publicly, and it was done in First Minister's questions yesterday. And the First Minister's absolutely correct. Mr. Sarwar and the Labour Party for months now have been trying to influence, in fact, since the beginning of it in 2019, have been trying to influence this public inquiry. But recently, it's got out of hand. He even went as far as to write to the judge to try and tell the judge what to look for in the public inquiry, when the public inquiry's remit was already set by a cross-party Holyrood committee. And Sarwar should face the consequences of trying to interfere with an independent public inquiry and to politicise it. Right, main headline, Mandelson files released. A huge task. That's interesting, because I seen Starmer on the TV yesterday, obviously clips on YouTube, claiming that he was misled. And that's it. So where does this massive Mandelson file come from? Where does it come from? You know, Warning, the process could take months. There's that much in the dossier that MI5 has on Mandelson. It could take months to release it. What the fuck's in there that needs redacted? I thought our public servants were supposed to be held to the highest of standards. Of course, he isn't a public servant. He's a knight of the realm. And the law doesn't apply to they fuckers. Oh, really? And apparently Starmer has full confidence in McSweeney, even after being told it's him or you. And apparently he issued an apology to the victims of Epstein. Bit narrow, that apology. That apology shouldn't have been to the victims of Epstein. He was the provider. He was the supplier. He was the fixer. The apology should have included everybody who was in his circle and was being supplied by this man. Epstein was Andy's version of Savile. The fixer. The National. Up next, we'll get Daily Fail. I've been alongside Sarah Ferguson in her darkest moments. This time she really is out in the cold for good. Who gives a fuck? She took her teenage daughters to meet a paedophile. As Starmer fights for his political life and MPs line up to warn that either he or his chief aide has to quit, ex-deputy leader tells friends she's primed to strike. Rayner, I'm ready to go. And apparently, the Labour Party are that desperate that they're willing to ditch a genocide-enabling, kid-starving, granny freezing fucking Tory with a tax dodger. Not a good look, is it? Let's get rid of that arsehole who's actively, so is Rayner, actively aiding and abetting the genocide, who pushed 250,000 children into poverty last year, who in his first year decided he was going to freeze Granny to death. And their ideal replacement's a tax dodger with an inquiry going into your tax affairs. It's not exactly called a good fucking look, is it? Wow, politics in England is corrupt as fuck. Let's get rid of the genocide enabler and replace him with another genocide enabling tax dodger. Fuck. Yeah, they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel now. Is this what happens when a political party's natural longevity comes to an end? But if that's what they plan, is to take down one lying bastard and replace it with another tax dodging lying bastard, it is not a good look. Tell you what's interesting about it though. Years ago, Rayner wouldn't have put her head above the parapet for fuck all. For years. She'd have sat in the back benches and kept her fucking head down. But no, we're only talking about 6-8 months since she was at the heart of a tax dodging scandal, and now she fancies being Prime Minister. That tells you where the society's at. It is immoral and it is fucked. Next up, we'll get the Metro. But think about that, folks. Think about it. Somebody embroiled in a tax inquiry for tax dodging thinks she's a better bet for Prime Minister than the fucking idiot that's about to be replaced. Talk about a dearth of talent. The Metro has. You're helping reform, Starmer tells critics. PM battles for survival. He doesn't deserve to survive. He didn't deserve to be there in the first place. He got there through lies, deceits, and smearing a colleague. Have a look at the Labour files in Al Jazeera. That's how the lying bastard got there. By lies, deceits, and smearing a colleague. Battles for survival, he doesn't deserve. The party doesn't deserve to survive. The other Tory party deserves to be in demise, and all it is. Unfortunately, it's what comes next that's fucking scary. Next up, we'll get Times. PM labelled gullible over weak and weak over Mandelson. Gullible and weak, fuck all. He took a calculated risk that sending a paedophile pal to sit next to another paedophile, the same paedophile's other pal, would be an advantage to the UK. It was a calculated risk. Parcel of roads is too good a description. Absolutely correct. Let's cut the bullshit out here and talk about what the Labour Party did. They selected Mandelson because him and Trump had the same associations. And they were hoping that Mandy was going to be able to pally with Trump. And that would make things easier for the bankrupt UK, which has just cut itself off for the biggest market on the planet, and whose economy was tanking at a massive rate of knots. It was a calculated risk. Any of this bollocks about gullible, it wasn't gullible. It was a gamble. It's back fucking fired. The truth is in between the lines. If you've been watching long enough, it's easy enough to see the truth that's in between the lines. Next up we have The Guardian. At least it should be. Yep. Get to that in a wee minute, Reagan Wheat. Thank you very much. I'll put it up and out. Starmer must go. This is not a debate. Apparently it's going to be, Reagan. The old standards that do something like this and fall on your sword. Or in the past. There is no honour among thieves anymore. The Guardian. Starmer in appeal to Labour MPs as pressure grows for number 10 reset. Reset? Maybe we just wipe the fucker off the face of the map and restart. Here in Scotland we'll do it our way. In Wales they'll do it their way. In Ireland they'll do it their way, whatever that's going to be. And in England we can go on with rebuilding and all. Because what we've got is morally fucking bankrupt. Morally bankrupt. You see the difference in the two societies when we look at the parliaments. The Scottish Parliament, lobbying is strictly controlled, so you couldn't buy a front bench the way the Israeli lobby have in Westminster. And that's just the start, mate. Look at the way that they have to log their expenses every fucking week in Holyrood. They once a year down that road, if they remember. They don't want to reset number 10. They want to blow the Houses of Commons. They turn that into a fucking a Witherspoons. Shut number 10 down. Move to a new parliament in the centre of England and rebuild something that actually fucking works. Get rid of the nobles. Get rid of the lords and get rid of the pride. Get rid of the pride, privilege and fucking patronage that they have acquired for themselves. Next up, we've got the Rancid. Army foot soldier loses tickets for US after signing up for disabled briefs by mistake. Apparently some Scotland fan has went onto the website to book tickets and they used the wrong section of the website. And of course, when the SFA did a wee bit of due diligence, discovered that him and his wife were disabled, they took the tickets back off him. And he probably won't get tickets now. They'll have been sold out, although why anybody would want to go to that shite over at this point in time, I don't know. It probably should be and probably is on the Home Office don't travel to list. Right, after the Rancid, we've got the Herald. The Herald, of course, will be shying away from the usual. So we've got a damning report on pensions agency failures. And this is the SSPA, the Scottish Public Service Pensions Agency. This goes on, we've covered this before, folks, but I'll try and refresh your memories. This goes back to 2015, when it was discovered that younger public servants who get injured and had to be pensioned due to this public service, younger were getting less pension benefits than longer serving public servants. And that's not supposed to happen when it comes to being injured at work. It should be equal compensation and equal pension because the costs are going to be the same. Anyway, a 2015 Supreme Court ruling called the MacLeod judgment ruled that the public service pension agencies right across these islands had to recalculate tens of thousands of public pensions which were being paid for people who were pensioned out of the service. And apparently the Scottish Public Pensions Agency made an arse of it. And there's no point kidding on about it. They did make an arse of it. They did not fully understand the ruling. And as they tried to implement it, it caused a backlog in the system, meaning that new people making claims were waiting fucking forever to get paid. So the Herald's right here. It is a damning report. And as I say, it goes all the way back to 2015 and something called the MacLeod judgment, where it was ruled unfair that younger public servants being pensioned out for the same reasons the older public servants were being pensioned out were being paid less. Obviously, because they were going to get paid over a longer period of time. It's how they've calculated it. The MacLeod judgment kiboshed that and tell them to recalculate thousands of pensions. So that's the story behind that one, folks. And of course, you can always use your search engine to have a look at the MacLeod judgment. And remember, it's Friday, Daily Blase, 5 o'clock, Friday Flocks, always great. And Reagan Elite, no doubt, will be up right after me. Right, after the Herald, we'll get the Looney Rag, the Express. And what's that go today? This one's funny. Tell you, there is days when the Express just, they have great headlines. And this one's a fucking dillion. Swinney snubs rates relief summit amid so aimed at rescuing ailing hospital. Sorry, let me start that again. Swinney snubs rate relief summit aimed at rescuing ailing hospitality sector. FM skips his round in battle to save our pubs. Now, I've said this before. If a business in the hospitality sector can't make it, get out of fucking business. The pub culture died here years ago. It's been one of the greatest success stories of the Scottish Government in trying to address Scotland's poor relationship with alcohol. Fuck them. They got rates of relief in the budget. We read them out. They got their rates of relief. Fuck them. If they can't make it, out of business. Away with yous. Pub culture's finished. Thanks, Peter. Eyes on the prize. That's exactly the message. Always. These businesses can't stand on their own 2 feet. Fuck them. They're bad for our health anyway. And Scotland's got a dire relationship with alcohol. So does England and Wales, right enough, but that's beside the point. Right, after the only rag, the Express. So FM accused of calling last orders on Scotland's pubs. Who cares? They can't keep their head above the water. Out their fucking business they go. Next up, we'll get the scum. And what's the scum got for us today? Jair stars in hotel sex storm. Aces hook up at rehab. Medic axed over cheats. It would appear there was some medic providing young football players recovering at Rangers with some, let's say, cardiovascular exercise. Providing them with women on the side. An interesting side racket, that one, eh? Oh, you're here for physio. You want a hooker at the same time. Wow. That's a story. That's a story in a bit, that one, eh? Oh, to be young and have the hormones raging. Let's turn that into a business opportunity. That tells you where we are. We are capitalist system. Another niche found in the market and filled, this time by a physiotherapist who would appear. Right, next up we've got a Telegraph. What's the Telegraph got for us this morning? That one just cracks me up, you know. The idea that young Rangers stars are going for physio and being offered the services of young ladies at the same time is quite funny. Right, next up we have the Telegraph. Rayner tilt at number 10 hit by tax inquiry. There you go. Let's swap this genocide enabling, kid starving, granny freezing lying bastard for a tax dodger. Talk about a bad look. Talk about a bad look. Let's swap this genocide enabling, kid starving, granny freezing, lying bastard with a tax dodger. Wow. You couldn't make it up. And I don't know who it is in that picture, but that fucking outfit doesn't look comfortable. It really doesn't. But when you think of the Labour Party, you're going to swap one genocide enabling with another genocide enabling, kid starving, a granny freezing, lying bastard with a genocide enabling, tax dodging bastard. Yeah. Somebody hold the mirror up to these people, will you? Hold the mirror up to these people and tell me to take a fucking look. It's brilliant. Yeah. It's brilliant. Between that and Jair stars getting hookers on rehab, the headlines have been fantastic today. Oh, and pub culture, of course, being fucking deed. Wow, that's a book done. That means we've only got one thing left today, and that's to put up the Star. And we don't want to impinge on young Reagan Elite's programme, so we'll get this one out the road for those of you who have a similar schedule to me. I won't be watching Reagan, but I'll be listening in. Because that's what I tend to do. I put my pods in as I'm moving around to get things to do. Right, so that leaves us with the Star. What's the Star got for us today? Well, leaving the Star's own bashing Starmer. And rightly so. They fucking deserve it. Starmer and firing line top secret Epstein files. The spy who failed me. Now, this was him yesterday whining that he didn't know. I only had Mandelson's word. Turns out there's a whole fucking dossier on Mandelson and Epstein. Whole fucking dossier. And it's going to take months to redact before it can be released. You see what I mean when we talk about a fucking liar? In the earlier headlines, they're talking about taking months to redact the Mandelson file, UK version of Epstein file, before it can be fucking released. And here's this guy trying to tell us he didn't know. Hey, where's that fucking mirror? Going to show it to him? Going to get him to listen to himself? You know, I didn't know. Oh, but either way, it's going to take us months and months to redact the file to give me all that information. You couldn't make shit up. You really couldn't. But as I say, when it comes to today's headlines, they're brilliant. Pub culture's dead. Chair stars offered sex on rehab. And Labour Party want to replace a genocide enabling, kid starving, granny freezing red Tory with a genocide enabling, tax dodging red Tory. And all the while, I've seen the interview with Anna Sarwar yesterday on the television. He looked like a rabbit caught in the fucking headlights. He looked like a man who was on his last legs and ready to hang himself. But that's what happens when you hook your wagon to the likes of Starmer. That's what happens when you hook. But that's how loader society's got. That they're actually considered a tax dodger as preference to a red Tory liar. Oh, to another red Tory liar. You could not make it up, man. So, mind folks, you're going to wake up next. And if your schedule's anything like mine, 5 o'clock this afternoon, you'll be watching Daily Blasey, because he always gives you a couple hours of a smile to start your weekend. Now, you guys all look after yourselves. Have a good weekend. Thanks very much for your kind contributions to the food banks this week. And today, thanks for the moderators for moderating. And we'll see you on Monday, where no doubt we'll have a fresh set of loony fucking headlines to look at. Because this isn't getting any saner anytime soon. As they say, tune in for the next episode, because it's fucking really good drama. That's for sure. If it wasn't for the fact it's affecting all our lives, it would make a good read. A lot of plot twists. But it does affect all our lives. We're talking about real people dying, starving, freezing, being murdered. See you on Monday. I'm going to take a break. Which is not true. You know me. I'll be all right. I'll be all right over the weekend and all. I just won't be coming on here to talk to you about it. Have a nice weekend. Thank you. Bye now.